Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Ned Bellavance, Ned1313 on Twitter, and welcome to the Daily Check-In for Wednesday, September 16th, 2020. I sound surprised. Dates dates elude me sometimes. They're difficult. It's ridiculous. And this is late. I am coming in super late on this, and it's been a day. It's been a day just packed with meetings and events. This is the Pluralsight Author Summit is this week. And as you know, I'm an author at Pluralsight, and they do this annual summit for all of their authors to talk about their programs and opportunities and changes that they're making. And there's a lot of cool stuff coming to Pluralsight. Let me tell you, Pluralsight Live is in, I don't know the dates for that, but Pluralsight Live is coming up and they're going to announce a whole bunch of really cool stuff. So if that's of interest to you, stay tuned. There's going to be some cool stuff coming out. That's not what I'm going to talk about today. What I'm going to talk about today is Kubernetes is the new battleground for storage companies. And I want to place that in proper context. So that's what I'm going to get to in a minute. Before I do that, I don't have any housekeeping items. I just want to check in with you. How are you? How's Wednesday treating you? Is it a good Wednesday? Was it super packed like mine where you just got like way too many things to accomplish in one day and not nearly enough time to do it in? You might be having that kind of Wednesday. If you are, then I salute you. If you are an imbiber of alcoholic beverages, then I toast to you. And if not, just, relax, take a deep breath, pat yourself on the back. It's going to be okay. We're going to get through this together. All right. So let's talk about storage and Kubernetes. So I guess there's a couple stories I need to tell here to put this in the proper context. But the reason this all came up is there was an announcement today that Portworx, one of the leading storage providers for Kubernetes, was getting acquired by Pure Storage. Okay, and Pure Storage is, they're a storage provider. They create storage arrays, and their claim is mostly around flash. So if you know Pure Storage, you know all about their all-flash array. And so that's kind of where they built their reputation, was on the all-flash array, and then the software that they use to do a whole bunch of cool stuff in the background. I almost ended up selling some of it when I worked at Avar, but then we ended up going with HP and 3PAR because HP was providing a lot of incentives. But that's that's a subject for another post, I'm sure. But okay, so there's a story here about storage companies and kind of what happened to them in the last 5 years or so. Maybe a little bit longer, but we'll say 5 years. So what happened is storage companies that sold storage arrays and storage products, they could be mostly broken down into the sort of block storage folks and the filer and file storage folks. But they both had some sort of storage product, whether it was a network attached storage, a NAS as they might call it, or a true storage array or storage frame, as you'll hear it called. Sometimes people will call that a SAN, but a SAN is actually a storage area network that is inclusive of storage arrays and the hosts that talk to it. Again, probably that's a topic for another time as well. But so you broadly have these categories, and most storage companies tend to specialize in one or the other. For instance, EMC was known for their block storage and their big honkin' storage arrays, as was HPE had their 3PAR, or has their 3PAR, which was really known for block storage. And then you had companies like NetApp that was probably better known for their filer product, even though they had block storage. Now, this was all on-premises storage, physical units you would go and deploy in your data center, or I should say install and stand up. Now, what happened is the cloud happened, and it caught the storage companies a little flat-footed because suddenly people were really excited about a new type of storage, which is object-based storage, which is not file or block. So new category of storage that's available in S3 and also in Azure and GCP. They all have object storage. So it's a different way of addressing storage. And all of those cloud providers also had their own native storage, whether it was EBS on Amazon or just Azure storage on Azure. They all had a storage product, and that storage product was using probably some kind of commodity hardware and custom software from that cloud provider, and it wasn't using the big storage array stuff. So a lot of the storage companies saw that they were losing revenue by people moving to the cloud and no longer having to buy a new storage array, because they went on a life cycle of every 5 years, someone would have to re-up their storage array. And when they did that, there would be a big influx of money. Now, when that 5-year cycle came around, what happened? Oh, we moved up to the cloud. We don't need to buy another one of your storage arrays. That's a problem. Okay, so cloud caught them a little flat-footed. And then the second punch, the 1-2 punch, you had cloud and then you had HCI. And what's HCI? Hyperconverged infrastructure. Hyperconverged infrastructure puts the compute and storage together and then stacks those nodes and networks them all up. So you have these nodes that no longer need an external storage array because their storage is on the host and it's replicating across the nodes. Most notably, you have things like vSAN, you have things like Nutanix, you have Windows with storage spaces direct. All of these things were basically taking market share away from storage. So what did the storage companies do? Well, they decided to go cloud by developing these cloud-based solutions, which, you could argue how useful or how well done any of those things were. But that was one direction they went, was, hey, we'll just offer cloud, or we'll offer a cloud option on our existing array where you can archive some stuff to the cloud or do something like that. So that was one thing. Another one was be absorbed into a larger company. So EMC famously bought Isilon, which gave them a NAS-based storage, and then was bought by Dell to become Dell EMC. HPE bought up a bunch of storage companies, and including 3PAR, to replace their internal one and sort of bundled it all together. Okay, that all makes sense. There's some consolidation in the market, things have matured, and at the same time, storage companies started doing more. They're not just a storage company anymore. So NetApp started doing this thing where they talked about how NetApp is not just a storage company. They came out with their own HCI units. They also started getting into the Kubernetes space with their own Kubernetes service. It was a lot of weird stuff happening in that marketplace. That's shaken out a little bit at this point. Now, there's definitely, like, NetApp has their cloud volumes on tap. Pure Storage has their pure block storage that's available on the clouds. So that's shaken out a little bit. But the new battleground is Kubernetes, because that's the big thing that came along, right? Okay, I had my storage array and I know what I'm doing with that on premises, but now I have HCI and I don't really need the storage array except for some use cases. And now I have Kubernetes that needs to hook into storage, but can it just use the storage on my HCI? And a bunch of storage products started coming out that were specifically aimed at providing persistent or non-persistent storage to Kubernetes. Okay, and that came with a whole fresh new raft of companies. This has become the new battleground. The new battleground for storage companies is not cloud, it is Kubernetes. And what happened on the Kubernetes side is that storage started to mature on the Kubernetes side. Originally, there was no real good abstraction. You had to provision persistent volumes manually and feed them in. And it had to just be whatever native storage was on that node. And that was fine for stateless workloads. But when you started adding stateful workloads, now you want better management of your volumes. So along came the flex volume, which allowed other vendors to sort of plug themselves in to the Kubernetes landscape, but it was all part of that Kubernetes main project. That's a problem, because it really needed to be its own thing that could be iterated on a regular basis. So what did Kubernetes do? Just like they did with the container network interface, they created the container storage interface, which is an abstraction and a spec that storage vendors can write to present storage to Kubernetes in a standardized way, and then it can be consumed declaratively. That happened on the Kubernetes side. And now the storage companies are going, well, cloud caught us flat-footed and HCI caught us flat-footed, but we are not going to let this happen to us with Kubernetes, because you know what we're going to do? We're going to go out and start buying other companies that specialize in Kubernetes storage, or build our own CSI plugins and specialize back in storage. So I think two main takeaways here. The reason Pure bought Portworx is they don't want to be outmaneuvered in the Kubernetes storage space. NetApp already has a CSI that's associated with them and their Trident operator, I believe it is. So they already have that. And you can just see following through on that, there's going to be other storage companies that are in the specific Kubernetes space that are going to get bought by larger storage companies that don't want to lose out on this next big trend. So that's what I see happening in the future. And congratulations to Pure and Portworx. Congratulations to Portworx for being acquired. And Pure, don't mess that one up. They were doing great. Just keep feeding in the good engineering and the good talent and bring them out to more clients that you have in your customer base. And I think it's going to be a great combination. So congratulations to both of those companies. And that's all I have for today. I hope that was interesting for you. It was quite the journey that we've taken to get from where storage was to where it is today. And kind of you can see where it's going in the future. Tomorrow is Thursdays, and Thursdays I deal with edge stuff. I am going to be demoing some more Raspberry Pi stuff because I've been tinkering around with Raspberry Pi, and I'm going to show you how to get your Raspberry Pi to boot off of a USB stick instead of the micro SD card, because you're going to get more consistent and more reliable performance that way. So that's what I'm going to show you tomorrow. I'm going to have to, figure that out later tonight. Well, I already have it figured out, but how I'm going to demo it. But that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Until tomorrow, stay healthy and stay safe, everybody. Bye now.